Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today I bring to you some predictions for 2022 from the famous seers Baba Vanga and Nostradamus. Be prepared to be scared. Baba Vanga, born Vangelia Pandeva Surkeva in 1911. Baba, meaning grandmother, Vanga, grew up in the Bulgarian village of Strumica. She was struck blind during an unusual storm when she was 12. She became famous for predicting deaths and was visited by high-ranking individuals from all over the world for her prophecies. Some of her most famous visions include: American brethren will fall after being attacked by the steel birds, and innocent blood will be gushing, which many see as a prediction of the 9/11 terrorist attacks in New York in 2001, when 2 planes were flown into the Twin Towers. She also predicted that the Russian city of Kursk would be covered with water and the whole world will weep over it. In August 2000, a Kursk submarine sank and 118 men on board died. She also apparently predicted the rise of Vladimir Putin by stating, "All will thaw as if ice. Only one remains untouched, Vladimir's glory, glory of Russia." The blind Bulgarian seer allegedly predicted several extreme events for the year 2022. These include: Number 1. A swarm of locusts which would devastate India, along with temperatures reaching 50 degrees centigrade or 122 degrees Fahrenheit. In the last couple of years, the world has already seen biblical plagues of locusts causing havoc across Arabia and East Africa. Number 2. A deadly virus emerges from Siberia because of melting of the permafrost and glaciers due to global warming. Well, it's been a while since we've had one of those, and apparently this one will be particularly bad on a global scale. Number 3. Extraterrestrials will send an asteroid to hit Earth and use it to kidnap some humans. Many are tying this in to Oumuamua. Baba Vanga did talk about humans eventually making contact with aliens, but at a later date. This event seems to be more of a scouting mission than open contact, and it doesn't sound particularly pleasant for one of the parties involved, namely us. Number 4. Many cities will suffer a shortage of drinking water. This issue has been discussed for a long time, that eventually water will replace oil in terms of value. And many wealthy individuals have been quietly buying up water rights around the world for several years already. Apparently, this year we'll finally begin to feel the effects of a major water shortage. Number 5. An increase in natural disasters. Baba Vanga allegedly predicted a rise in floods, earthquakes and volcanoes this year, particularly for Australia and Asia. It's worth noting that Australia will be facing its second La Niña in a row this year. Last time that happened, in 2011, the country was hit by Cyclone Yasi and the Brisbane floods. Number 6. Virtual reality. Now, this is probably the scariest of all of Baba Vanga's predictions for this year. She warned that people would begin to confuse reality and fantasy and become way too dependent on technology. The recent introduction of Zuckerberg's Metaverse scarily ties in with this. Was she warning us against Metaverse specifically, or augmented and virtual reality in general? Baba Vanga died in 1996. Nostradamus. Michel de Notre-Dame was a French physician during the time of the Great Plague. His methods of treatment and hygiene had some success in treating plague victims, but he is most famous for the book he wrote in 1555 entitled Les Prophéties. Using a scrying mirror, Nostradamus saw future events and wrote them down in cryptic language in quatrains. He became famous as a seer for several extremely astute predictions in his own time period, particularly how and when King Henry II of France would die, and that the 4 sons of his widow, Queen Catherine de' Medici, would all become king. However, as Nostradamus's future predictions are so couched in almost abstract imagery, they have to be interpreted by experts in such matters. As such, many of his predictions can only be attributed to real-life events after the fact. For 2022, there are a few scary quatrains. Number 1. Death of a leader. The sudden death of the first character. He will be changed and they will put another in his kingdom. Nostradamus predicted that some world leader would die this year and be replaced. The language chosen suggests that this leader is a puppet of someone else. Kim Jong-un, anyone? Although there are quite a few around the globe who do fit that description. Number 2, the end of Europe. Sacred temples of the Roman time will reject the foundations of their foundation. Many interpret this as the end of the European Union, particularly after Brexit, and that does tie in with Baba Vanga's prediction that Europe would fall, although that should have already happened in 2017. This seems to me to point more towards the Catholic Church rather than a political body. Should it be taken in a literal sense, as in churches will collapse due to earthquakes or such? Or could it mean that Peter or Paul will be rejected as being the founding fathers of the church? The Catholic Church is definitely going through some serious changes at the moment, as it comes to terms with the 21st century flock, along with all their confusing non-traditional beliefs. Is a big change in the works? Number 3, cannibalism. So high the price of wheat that man is stirred, his fellow man to eat in his despair. Now this one is really scary, and not just due to Nostradamus referencing widespread cannibalism. Food prices are currently massively increasing, and crop production in the last couple of years has been horrific globally due to many reasons. Weather disasters, quarantine workforce, supply issues. Could this year see all of this resulting in food prices being so high and food so hard to attain that people are forced to eat their neighbours in order to survive? Of greatest interest are the 2 quatrains allegedly for 2022, which tie in with what Baba Vanga predicted, and I mean eerily similar. Number 4, like the sun, the head will seal the shining sea. The live fish of the Black Sea will almost boil. Will temperatures rise so greatly, like Vanga's 50 degrees C in India, that fish will almost boil in the sea? We're currently experiencing the second long cold winter in a row. Could this summer be an extremely hot one? And then there's this. Number 5, AI and virtual reality. The moon in the full of night over the high mountain. The new sage with a lone brain sees it. By his disciples invited to be immortal, eyes to the south, hands in bosoms, bodies in the fire. This quatrain has been interpreted as being the rise of artificial intelligence as a danger to humanity, something Elon Musk has been warning us about for years. combined with Baba Vanga's predictions about us losing our grasp on reality through technology and AI this year, the Metaverse is seriously beginning to look like something far scarier than its creepy and ineffective marketing campaign would suggest. We've just been through a couple of very bad years globally, and that doesn't look like it's going anywhere anytime soon. Could the seers, Nostradamus and Baba Vanga, have predicted we would be going for a hat trick? Let's hope not. It's also worth noting that many of these predictions had their dating added to them by their interpreters, rather than by the original seers themselves. So perhaps we may have to wait a few more years before any of these truly come to fruition. A few thousand would be fine by me. As always, be free.